Now, TikTok is one of the world's most popular social media apps, and in just 2 days from now, it could be banned in the United States, where there are an estimated 170 million TikTok users. In a rare, unanimous decision, the Supreme Court has upheld a Sunday deadline for the Chinese-owned app to be sold to an American buyer or be banned from app stores and internet sites. The bipartisan legislation was passed by Congress last year and signed into law by President Joe Biden amid fears that Americans' data could be accessed and misused by the Chinese government, posing national security risks. But now, both the outgoing and the incoming administrations seem to have their doubts. The Biden White House says it will not enforce the ban and leave that to soon-to-be President Donald Trump. The president-elect, who once advocated taking action against TikTok, takes office a day after the ban is set to come into effect. Trump has signaled he's keen to find a solution to keep TikTok up and running, but he says he needs more time. For ordinary American TikTok users, anxiety is growing about what will happen on deadline day.
I'm not too heavily dependent on that platform, but I know, and it has given me a lot of value, at least for research and information. Marketing is a different thing, but I know a lot of people benefit from it, so I think it's long-term it will do more harm than good.
It's more than just an app for me. It's my job, it's my livelihood. It's the biggest platform that I have. I feel like without it, it's hard to identify myself without TikTok. That sounds so unserious to a lot of people, but it's really serious to me because it's where I found all my online friends and a great community.
So I feel like on the 19th, when I wake up, it's gonna feel different, right? Because I always wake up with my phone, scrolling on TikTok, seeing what's new. But since the 19th is gonna get banned, I feel like, I don't know, I'm just gonna have to go to YouTube or Instagram or something.
And to talk more about this, I am joined by Susan Ariel Aaronson, the founder and director of the Digital Trade and Data Governance Hub in Washington, D.C. Welcome to DW, Susan. It's great to have you on the program. Can I ask you...
Thank you so much.
What do you think is likely to happen on Sunday, the deadline for TikTok to be sold or banned, and what might possibly happen in the meantime?
Well, so you probably heard that President-elect Trump had a talk with Premier Xi, and some sort of grand bargain seems to have been reached. As you may know, the United States Congress could vote to rescind PNTR, which is a program that we have for normal trade relations, which means that you treat every nation equally. If the United States were to revoke that, we could put on ridiculously high tariffs upon China, and that would be quite hurtful at this time for the Chinese economy and for the global economy. No one here knows, but that is a very Trumpian inclination to create such a grand bargain. And I think that many people in his upcoming administration understand the dangers, on one hand, of not addressing TikTok because it is a beloved platform, so it'll get plenty of blowback if it is to be abandoned. There have been several different bids for it in the United States. I am deeply worried if somehow it is given to Elon Musk to work with. He already has too much of Americans' attention, but we shall see.
Can I ask you, Susan?
There are
why so many politicians seem to have had a change of heart towards TikTok? I mean, obviously, Trump and Biden originally backed action against TikTok. And as you're saying, now there's this move sort of to come out in favor of the app. What was it that changed?
I would say nothing changed, frankly. This is something that I write a lot about. I am also co-PI of the NSF NIST Trustworthy AI Institute, and what I monitor closely is the relationship of data and data governance to AI. And frankly, U.S. policymakers did not make a very effective case outlining the potential national security risks of TikTok, because the truth is any government, any firm operating in China must adhere to Chinese law, and Chinese law requires that if the government asks it to share data in its servers, that firm, whether it's Citibank or Levi's or Ford Motor Company, must share that data. Unfortunately,
go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
And so American companies have the exact same problem that TikTok has, right? The problem is these are Chinese regulations, and U.S. firms want, and the U.S. government wants to adhere to Chinese law. At the same time, Chinese firms operating in the United States must adhere to U.S. law. But here's the problem. The United States has no data protection law of its own. So we are totally hypocritical here. It has been since 1997 that the United States has lacked a clear national rule. We have sectoral rules, but we don't have a national rule governing data. So policymakers act in the ways that they can. And one way is an executive order, and another way is laws. And increasingly, the United States has put on restrictions on data for national security reasons. Now, those are good reasons, but the public doesn't understand them. And they don't understand that they are the product, that their data could be used to manipulate them.
I just wanted to come back to something you were saying earlier, Susan, because, of course, before passing the legislation to sell or ban TikTok, lawmakers held hearings, as you said, on the alleged danger to national security. We're going to take a listen to what FBI Director Christopher Wray said just over 2 years ago, and I'll come right back to you after that.
I would say we do have national security concerns, at least from the FBI's end, about TikTok. They include the possibility that the Chinese government could use it to control data collection on millions of users, or control the recommendation algorithm, which could be used for influence operations if they so chose, or to control software on millions of devices.
So we heard it there. I mean, even if the ban were to be delayed and TikTok stays up and running, the security concerns remain? Remain.
So, but at bottom, the problem is us, right? Because tomorrow there will be other apps coming from other adversaries. China is extremely good at digital services and increasingly good at AI. And so the threat remains. Unless we, find new ways to protect personal data, which no country, no firm is adequate at, as you know, right? We are constantly exposed to cyber thefts, hacking, et cetera, and manipulation. So we don't yet know how to deal with this. And we're talking about every year more and more data. And we know that no data can be effectively anonymized. So what do you do?
So, Susan, can I ask you then, what do you think US policymakers' priorities should be then if, there should be new rules to govern the use of data?
The priority should be to clean our own house and set US rules, and then work with our allies on shared free flow of data rules that protect sensitive personal and government data, which is what one of the Biden administration executive orders are. Moreover, we should not allow the reuse of certain types of personal data in apps. For example, many apps take without your explicit permission your contacts, your location, et cetera. And that should be illegal. The reuse of various types of data without your consent, because you and I don't know how data can be used in the future and combined in the future to manipulate us. And I believe data and AI are excellent things, and they are public goods. They will help people in every country mitigate problems that we right now cannot solve. But I also believe until you effectively govern data, you will not be able to address these problems. Moreover, we need to explain to the American public that data governance is essential, and that collective data, it can be a national security problem.
Susan Ariel Aaronson, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but I thank you so much for speaking to us. Research Professor and Director of the Digital Trade and Data Governance Hub in Washington, D.C. Susan Ariel Aaronson, thank you.
To the United States now, where the Supreme Court has upheld a law banning TikTok from operating in America unless the platform is sold by its Chinese parent company. The justices agreed the risk to national security from TikTok's Chinese ownership outweighs concerns about limiting freedom of speech. The ban would come into force from Sunday. TikTok has around 170 million users in the United States. President-elect Donald Trump has said he wants to make a decision on the future of TikTok, but will review the Supreme Court ruling first. Let's cross over to Peter Kafka, who is chief correspondent at Business Insider in New York City. Peter, is TikTok really going to go dark on Sunday?
Anyone who tells you they know the answer is not telling the truth. We don't really know. There's a law that should force at least TikTok to operate in a crippled manner on Sunday. We don't know if that law is going to be enforced. We also don't know whether the folks who run TikTok might just go ahead and say, we're going to shut down the app for a day to put political pressure on Joe Biden and then eventually Donald Trump a day later. We don't really know what's going to happen on Sunday.
Can you briefly remind us how all of this came about?
There'd been considerable concern about TikTok's influence and whether it could created a security concern for years in the U.S. Donald Trump, during his administration, had tried to force China to basically hand over TikTok to the U.S. or sell it. He tried pushing that through via executive order. That didn't work. And then last year, both houses of Congress overwhelmingly passed a law giving TikTok basically until tomorrow the chance to sell itself to a non-Chinese owner or shut down. Joe Biden signed that, and you didn't really hear a peep about that for the last 3 or 4 months. No one was really concerned about it. The last few days, there's been sort of a flurry of action, or at least discussion about, is this really going to happen? Can we stop it? But this was set up last spring with overwhelming support from Congress. So it's a little ironic or amusing to watch various politicians now say, oh, wait, we should try to stop this thing that we agreed to many months ago.
Yeah, and it was actually one of Donald Trump's campaign pledges to save TikTok. Does he have a viable plan?
We don't know. Donald Trump is pretty seat of the pants. He's pretty transactional. I mean, what he would need to do by the letter of the law is find someone that convince the Chinese government to convince ByteDance, which owns TikTok, to sell it to a non-Chinese buyer. So far, China, ByteDance, TikTok have all said they don't want any part of that. We also don't know who might buy it. There's no credible technology company that stepped forward and said, we want to do this. There's been a handful of folks who've raised their hand and says, we're interested, but they're not really sort of serious buyers in my estimation. There's a lot of speculation. Might Elon Musk come up and do this? Elon Musk talks a lot, and it's quite interesting. He has not said a peep that I can tell about the possibility that he might buy TikTok and bring it into the fold that way. So again, it's quite fluid. It's quite remarkable that a major technology platform worth tens of billions, potentially hundreds of billions, the fate of that company is up in the air within 2 days, and we don't really know what's going to happen.
What would a ban mean for all the US-based TikTok creators making money through the platform?
They're quite concerned about it. TikTok itself doesn't pay very much money to creators, but advertisers want to reach people those creators are making. They can pay them quite a bit of money. It's a difficult life. It's not an easy job to be a video creator, even though it looks like it. The most logical thing that would happen if TikTok really does go away is users and advertisers all migrate to other platforms, most likely Reels, run by Instagram/Meta, and YouTube Shorts, run by YouTube/Google.
Peter Kafka, chief correspondent at Business Insider in New York City. Thank you so much.
Thank you.